Let's explore outside figure eight, a little more complicated version of the outside circle. I'll start just by showing my arm here. The gross movement is this. I'm reaching out and down and up and inside. And so I'm leading with the knife edge of my hand. Really, I want this to stay right about the level of my shoulder and my hips. So to get a bigger movement, I'm going to have to add more side-to-side movement. And now you'll see how all of a sudden my figure eight just got wider. This figure eight also has an up and down movement, so I want to add that. I'm going to sink and rise while I turn. Sink and rise while I turn. And here's this movement of this horizontal figure eight. I'm going to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to my opposite side. So now it's my left hand. I'm going to be reaching out and up, and then I'm going to sink, and then I'm going to bring my hand inside and rise, and then sink, outside and rise. I want to keep this figure eight out in front of me instead of lifting it up and down, which is going to make my arm collapse. So if you remember from our outside circles, I keep this right in front of me, and that keeps air underneath my armpits. Breathing in and out. Rise and fall. And then when I'm done, I can bring my foot in and my hands back to my hips. So let's explore both hands following in this outside figure eight. It kind of resembles two butterflies following each other. So in this case, I'll be in my horse stance. My hips are tucked, my knees are bent. My hands are going to stack right on top of each other. Now, as I reach up to this corner and then down, you'll see they'll become parallel to the side, and then they'll stack again. Parallel to the side, and then stack again. Just like with my movements before, I'm sinking, and then I'm rising while I turn. And then I sink, and I rise while I turn. It doesn't matter what side you breathe on, you just want to make sure you're indeed breathing. I like to exhale as I push to the right, and then inhale as I press to the left. Keeping that movement pressed out in front of me so that I can keep power moving all the way out through my arms. When I'm done, I can bring my feet back together and my hands can return to neutral at my hips. So now we move on to the brain teaser of the horizontal figure eights, and that's going to be both hands moving opposite. It's a more advanced version of the exercise scooping water from our outside circles. So if you're not familiar with that, make sure you go back and check that out. I'm doing this from my horse stance, And because of the nature of this movement, it's going to be mostly a rise and a fall in my horse stance. So I want to make sure at the top my knees stay bent, and that when I sink, my hips tuck underneath me. So I'm starting with my hands out at my shoulders. I'm going to be falling as I sink, and then rise and I push my hands up. I'm going to go ahead and breathe in while I press out, and then exhale when my arms cross. I'm still leading with that knife edge of my hand. It's an open from my arms and a close from my arms. Rise and fall. Rise and fall. And then when I'm done, I can bring my feet back to neutral and my hands to my hips. Now let's explore our inside figure eights, a slightly more advanced version of our inside circles. I'll be doing this from a horse stance. My right hand's going to start right in front of my shoulder. Now this time, instead of leading with the pinky or the knife hand like we did with the last exercise, I'm going to be leading with the thumb side, or what we call the ridge hand. This allows me to strike with the middle part of my hand all the way up into my forearm. So I'm starting at my shoulder, and then I'm going to sink and cross that hand down to my opposite hip. Then I rise and I start rotating that hand. As it rotates over the top, I'm then going to sink and cross my hand back down to the opposite hip again. And then rise. I'm back to where I started. As my arm crosses, I'll exhale and then rise. As my arm opens, I'll inhale and then rise. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. Then when I'm done, I'll return my foot to neutral, my hand to my hip. I can go ahead and shake it out if I need to. We'll go ahead and move on to the opposite side now. So I'll reach back to my horse stance. My left hand is in front of me, right in front of this shoulder. My leading with this thumb, or the ridge hand. I'll exhale as my hand crosses down to my hip, and then rise. Inhale when my hand crosses open, and then rise. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. I want to make sure to press this hand out in front of me so the arm doesn't collapse. I'm keeping power out to my hand through the entire movement. done, go ahead and return your foot to neutral and your hands at your hips. Now let's explore our inside figure eights with both hands following each other. Again, this can be described to look like two butterflies that are chasing each other through the air. I'll be doing this from a horse stance, and I like to think about leading with my right hand. My right hand's a lot more intelligent than my left hand, so my right hand's gonna start on top, and then my left hand's gonna stack underneath it. I'm gonna exhale while that hand falls and crosses my body, and then I'm gonna rise, and then I'm gonna inhale while that hand falls and opens. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. Sink and the weight shifts. Sink and then the weight shifts. And when you're done, you can return this foot to neutral, your hands to your hips. Let's move on to the brain teaser of our inside figure eights. This is very close to a little bit more advanced from pulling sky from our inside circles. So this time, I'm going to be starting with both hands at my shoulders. Again, leading with my ridge or my thumb side of my hand. I'm going to sink while my hands cross my body, and then rise, and then sink while my hands open, and then rise. Exhale while the arms cross, and rise. Inhale while the arms open, and rise. Make sure to press these hands out in front of you. That way they won't collapse to your body and lose power. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. Then when I'm done, I can return this foot to neutral and my hands at my hips.